Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client, and like we did today, we install a D-box system, we install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Quite a distance has been put between our championship leaders and their rivals. Both series have seen the lion's share of wins go to one driver. Now that we've entered the second half, will anyone else find a way to stem the tide? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 6 of the PRL GT Amateur Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Ryan Bauer, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. First up tonight for the Ferrari Challenge is the classic venue of Spa. Let's head to our track guide to find out a little bit more about it. Welcome to Spa-Francorchamps. Less than an hour's drive east from the German border, this Belgian track has come to define racing for many different eras in the sport. It's no wonder it continues to entrance drivers when you look at the stats. The 7 kilometers over the course of a lap includes more than 330 feet in elevation change as it weaves its way through the Ardennes forest. Packed into this is 19 turns, some of which are considered among the most famous in the world of racing. Corners like La Source and Blanchemont have been on the lips of drivers for decades. But by far the most notorious is Eau Rouge and Rétillon. Typically referred to in name by just the first section, it dips low and swings left, then compresses and climbs to the right up a massive hill. The sequence ends with a completely blind crest that sweeps to the left and leads onto the incredibly long Kemmel Straight. The bravery required to be fast through there will pay off towards one of the most popular passing spots at Lacombe. Eau Rouge is exemplary of the rest of the circuit, though. Most of the turns are incredibly fast, and many include much of that signature elevation change. As jaw-dropping as the track is, you have to remember that this is the modern truncated layout. The old one, raced until 1979, was 14 kilometers in length, yet carried an average speed of 150 miles per hour. Present-day safety measures do cut down on the danger, but even in recent history, the circuit has proven deadly. It's clear why this track continues to be revered and respected by racers the world round. Well, DJ, we've taken the Ferraris to Spa, but what is it going to be like here tonight?
It's going to be an exciting race, to say the least, Joe, as Spa-Francorchamps always seems to put up some fantastic racing. Now, obviously, one of the most crucial corners around here is going to be the first one. La Source, getting yourself set up to go up through Eau Rouge and Radillon and down the Camel Straight and into the best passing zone for Lacombe. But, as we've often seen the case, timing of how you get through La Source has to be absolutely perfect. You don't want to be too close up behind the car in front of you as you start the ascent up through Eau Rouge, or you'll have to back off and lose a little bit of that momentum. From there, it's a little bit of follow the leader on down. Now, not a whole lot of aero wash in these GT3s, so I don't anticipate there being a whole lot of problems in terms of drivers getting very squirrely coming down through Jackie X and Pujol. We may see an aggressive move into Fagnes, but I doubt it. The other big area, though, that we're going to want to watch out for is that run from Stavelot through Blanchemont and into Bus Stop. Let's see which drivers can really push the limits in that flat-out corner of Blanchemont. It is going to be the test of the driver's courage around here tonight.
Yeah, it could make a big difference, especially if we get some draft trains out here. Now, before we get to those, though, we want to remind you that our broadcast is brought to you by ASR. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
Tonight's broadcast is also brought to you by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it for free now at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
Tonight's broadcast is also brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net.
And finally, the PRL GT Am Series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. Now, today might be interesting because as we look at the points, and Jonathan Wager, with his significant gap, is likely to go down a little bit, not a whole lot, because he still has plenty of drop points, but he's not here today. This will certainly help guys like Beaufil and Stetzel have at least a little bit more hope in this, but if Wager comes back, they're still going to have to continue to try and beat him out on the track. You see Hellberg and Luke now in 4th and 5th, also in a very tight fight down there. Now, for the team's championship, DJ, how's that one looking?
Well, it's a little bit more spread out there at the top, with Eagle Vision Racing holding a 53-point lead over Apex Button Box. But a tight battle there between Apex Button Box and Improper Racing, as they're separated only by about 5 points. From there, Parabola Racing Cobalt is back to the tune of about 70 points in a little bit of a league of their own, with Car Ramrod or thereabouts 30 points behind them.
Now, as for today's race, it's another sprint event, 35 minutes that they'll be out on the track. It's a fixed setup in this series, so drivers just have to focus on the driving and the racing itself. Watch out for those penalties. The drive-through at 13 incidents and the disqualification at 17 is unfortunately likely to capture at least one or two today because it is Spa, and it's kind of notorious for allowing drivers to get a little greedy with the corner exits and get a few incident points. So right now they're trying to go for the pole position, though. We're just waiting for the first driver to set a time here. And we see Baron Glover on the screen in the number 93. Well, having a heck of a time down through Pouan, and he doesn't catch it the second time either. And that is going to be his first qualifying lap done. So we head on over to Daniel Knight.
Yeah, Daniel Knight here in the 17 machine as he works his way down the hill here through this seemingly never-ending Radeon complex. Now down into Jackie X, get that car all the way over to the right and try to minimize as much braking as possible. That's really the way to try to take that corner. Now let's see how he handles that tricky Pouhon section.
Looks like first apex is a little better, and the second one he's clear as well. So Daniel Knight going to be able to get around to set his first time. Down into Fanyes now. Back and then fourth. A little bit of a medium speed chicane through here. Trying to keep it within the track boundaries. Remember, if they go beyond the track boundaries in the qualifying session, it's not the incident point they need to worry about. It is the fact that it will delete their lap and they'll have to go around again for another one. They only get 4 of these laps to try and set a time, as it looks like Eric Luke is our first to officially put one on the board.
Yes, he is. John Stetzel coming in about a half a second behind him. Randy Gross very close there in third, waiting for some big names to come in. I'm seeing Brian Hoskins coming up to 9th, Lawson Christie 11th. Baron Hilton able to bump his way up into 9th.
So still following Daniel Knight, and he's coming around off of the bus stop chicane. Looks like Beaufil, our second in the points, puts himself into 4th on the qualifying sheet. And Knight's going to take that away and immediately bumped himself as Owen McLaughlin moves into 2nd place. So it certainly seems like drivers are finding time around here, but you can see just how long it takes these first laps, and they're already halfway through the amount of time they're given to try and get all 4 laps in around here.
Yeah, exactly, Joe. Spa is one of the longer circuits in Formula One and really in the world. So very, very long times here, looking about 2:18s. And because of how long the track is, that means that there's going to be some pretty wide discrepancy between lap times for these drivers because there are so many more opportunities to make a mistake around here. And so that's why we're seeing, as of right now, between Eric Luke in first and Yannick Belleville in 26th, about a 3.5 second gap.
Eric Luke actually coming around for his 2nd time lap right now. Had to take a couple stabs there in Estavilo, but eventually got it to turn in. Now out of that double right-hander, and they start to pick up speed. It's a blast down to Blanchimont, one of the most fearsome corners in racing. Just an incredible left flick. Granted, it has a lot of paved runoff now to kind of help you out if you go a little wide, but still sees some momentous wrecks here if you get it wrong. And Luke kept it within the white line. So down through the bus stop, across the timing line here in just a moment. He's already got the pole. Is he able to go quicker than the 2:18.4? No, 2:18.7 that time.
All right, so this may be a little bit of a situation where the tires are losing some adhesion as this qualifying session goes along. If this was a shorter lap around here, I would expect to see drivers pulling in to try to take it again, but the truth of the matter is you don't want to do anything to throw that off. Lawson Christie unable to improve there. And as I say it, I am seeing some drivers popping down pit lane right now. Owen McLaughlin, Daniel Knight, Mark Feil, Baron Hilton, Patrick Cowgill, and Joseph Gerson all coming down pit lane. Not sure if they're going to try to make another crack at this here, but they are at least in right now.
This is Blake Ziti now coming off the chicane in the bright blue number 50. And as he crosses the line at 20.073, does not improve, so he'll stay in 18th. We head now to Charlie Sumner Oh, and he also is going to head to pit lane. Remember, they are not allowed to finish the hot laps if they start a lap and don't have enough time to complete it. So those who are abandoning into pit lane probably aren't quick enough to improve this time and just taking the chance to try and practice the pit lane entry. This is Yannick Belleville that we've got on screen. I see Daniel Knight coming back around. He should have enough time to try and complete a lap. Belleville's just coming out of Ravage and into No Name. Here's Daniel Knight now, up into 5th place, and isn't happy with that lap. He's just going to try and maximize his pit entry to make sure he's got enough of that. So we head off to Glover instead.
Yeah, and back to Glover here as he makes his way down the hill. This is his 3rd lap that he is on. And it looks like he's got a little bit of front-end damage, Joe. That splitter in that front fender, not exactly looking factory specs. So this may not be the best lap for Glover.
Yeah, also keeping an eye on Eric Luke, who's getting ready to take his 3rd lap as well. Glover coming up to Blanchemont. Here is the Apex button box driver. And the 709, another one that's going to abandon. He did have time to complete this. Randy Gross is next, and he's in 4th. So this is a good opportunity for him to potentially try and get onto the front row, maybe steal the pole away, but he's got to make up half a second, and he's not going to do it. It's a 2:19.6 for him. A bunch of cars now coming across the line. Cristelli not able to go any faster. They are absolutely plummeting across there. I can't catch quite all of them. I'm seeing a few managing to go a little bit quicker. And this is McCauley, who is going to try and complete the lap with just enough time on the board. He's down in 25th, and he improves to a 20.3. That'll be up to 23rd.
All right, so good run there for him. Mario Ficcadenti, another one that crossed the line there late, unable to improve. But, Joe, that's going to wrap up qualifying for us here at Spa.
And that shows you just how much time it takes to get around. Not everybody even got 3 laps in on this. But at the front of it, it'll be Eric Luke with Owen McLaughlin starting from 2nd. It's John Stetzel who will be P3 and Randy Gross in 4th. Daniel Knight wound up in 5th as Rafael Beaufil starts P6. Remember, he's 2nd place in the championship. He wants to maximize points today without wager here. Ficcadenti P7 and Paul Wildridge will start 8th. Row 5 has Cochran on the inside and Pimluth to the outside.
In 11th, it is going to be Mark File, followed by Baron Glover, with David Cristelli and Baron Hilton making up row 7. Charles Sumner will be lining up in 15th, followed by Sean Carmody, with Brian Hoskins and Patrick Cowgill behind them. Blake Ziti will be 19th, and rounding out your top 20, it's Joseph Gerson.
Neil Alexander's 21st with Lawson Christie 22nd. Then the next row is McCauley and Simkovich. It's Eric Evans starting P25, followed by Alec Bergstrom. Yannick Belleville only good enough for 27th today, and Drew DeWeese was the last one to set a qualifying time in 28th. Helberg, Aubrey, and Sutton round out your 31-car field here today. And that field is going to be seeing temperatures actually pretty decent, 79 Fahrenheit and 26 Celsius, with a little bit of wind. Hopefully that shouldn't cause too many issues. It's a little bit later in the day here in the October month here in Spa, even though it's only about 4:45 p.m. virtual standard time. You can already see how far the sun has gone down in the mountains. But I think the big talking point, not so much the weather, DJ, but the fuel around here. Who is going to play games with the slipstream?
Yeah, exactly, Joe. It is a big, big thing to be able to do so many long straights around here. Like we said, the Camel Straight obviously at the top of Radion, as well as the run from Stavelo all the way down through Blanchemont. You can really save buckets and buckets of fuel around here if you are careful on that right pedal. And so I think these drivers are going to be trying to do that. Don't be surprised if we see some guys very content to sit second in line and just let the race come to them.
Let's see who winds up first in line, because the pace car is already in. Eric Luke will have control of the fields, and he's on it immediately. Green flag is out. He jumped ahead of McLaughlin by a huge margin. It looks like Stetzel is going to try and challenge him for that second place, but decides to back out of his teammate not vying too hard. Randy Gross, though, is side by side with Daniel Knight.
Yes, he is. Pim Luth also a little bit side by side there in the back of the field. They're going to come here now for the first time up through Eau Rouge. This is where this can get a little bit hairy. Drivers starting to opt to go single file, and thank goodness for that as they climb the monster here for the first time.
Only side by side I see as well at the back, and it looks like Knight and Gross are going to go at it again along with the teammates of Stetzel and McLaughlin, but Stetzel comes out ahead with second place, and it looks like Knight's able to get ahead of Gross.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're going to be coming to expect around here, Joe. Those passes getting made down into that corner of Lacombe. Riding on board with Mario Ficadenti here, who is in sixth, trying to close in on Randy Gross.
Had an issue at the back. I think Lawson Christie, Neil Alexander, Hoskins, and Ziti all getting in trouble. And Ziti, unfortunately, has a slowdown penalty on the first lap. This is very wide. Morrow is going to have to give away a lot of positions, nearly everybody streaming through.
Oh, very, very tough for him. I can also say that David Cristelli just pulled off an awesome pass going down into Pouhon. You normally don't see those kind of moves getting made there. But as we continue to ride on board, there is Cristelli right now. He is on his way up into 13th.
Boy, Ficadenti's still losing positions, and he's actually right on the racing line. This is a horrible way for him to serve it. Yeah, you can see drivers having to go, oh, there must be something wrong with the car. I wonder if he had the wrong fuel in it or something, but we'll try and investigate that. And in the meantime, Luke is currently leading by about a second and a half. Stetzel in second with about 3/4 of a second back to Owen McLaughlin there in third. There's our leader getting ready to complete lap one.
Yes, takes it out of the bus stop now. Nice and easy. That gap holding at about 1.3 seconds for him, so that is very, very good news. He's just got to keep his head focused forward. We ride here on board with Randy Gross as he tries to chase in on Daniel Knight, but he's got to watch his rear. That's Rafael Bofill very, very close to that 155.
Oof, yeah, Gross is definitely filling up his mirrors. And, Bofill is filling up the mirrors of Gross, rather. And as we ride up through Eau Rouge across Radillon, this is a great exit from Bofill. Wildridge is following suit as well. He could get involved. We're watching from on board, Paul. Looks like Rafael's going to get the inside line coming up to Lacombe, but he's going to have to finish the job under braking. He sends it in deep, and he does get it done.
Very good job there for him getting down under the binders. You saw he was a little bit softer on the brakes in the first stage of that braking and then was really able to gather it back up under him. Oh, here comes Paul Wildridge trying to have a little bit of a move on Randy Gross going down through Brussels. There they are still side by side as they make their way through Jackie Ickx. That is going to be Wildridge on the outside trying to carry the momentum.
2 spots in 1 lap for poor Randy Gross. He's down to 7th now, and he's already got Barry Cochran behind him to boot, who we ride on board with. Looks like Gerson may have had an issue in No Name, and I see another car trying to get back to the track. I'm trying to figure out, I think that might be Cowgill. It is.
Yes, it is indeed. I'm watching it right now to figure out exactly what happened. Just some contact there, it looks like, in Cowgill. Somebody didn't hold the brakes, and that sends Cowgill across. Let's check out this replay. There you can see the tangle. Cowgill just trying to stay out of the way, and he is a helpless customer there.
That was Sumner that Gerson made contact with. Yeah, that's a real shame because he just about squeaked his way around there, and Cowgill, an innocent victim in it all. We're going to watch one more time from on board the yellow and black number 31. It all starts into Rivage. Looks like Charlie thought he could come back across the track, and, well, his rival had not done the same yet. So the two came together, and unfortunately, that resulted in 3 cars being taken out instead of just 2.
Yeah, and I can report that Cowgill has towed back to the pits, so that is effectively day done out here for the 31 machine.
So we come down towards Eau Rouge yet again. Luke still about a second and a half ahead of Stetzel on the block. Looking like he is losing draft, and we're looking at Beaufil, who is coming up on Daniel Knight now. He's disposed of Gross, and he's thinking about maybe trying to get one more. He starts to pull him in, but under braking, nothing doing.
Yeah, nothing doing there. You don't want to be too aggressive here in that corner at the end of the straight. It's very, very easy to run wide, pick up and off track, and just get yourself into a whole world of hurt. So discretion, obviously the better part of valor. Riding on board with David Cristelli. Cristelli's up 2 positions. Remember, we watched him on that charge up through the field earlier. He's trying to close in on Mark Feil, who's in a battle with Pim Luth right ahead of him.
I think Luth just got that position into Lacombe this lap. So he's up 1. That's 9th place for the 33. And here we go down to the inside. This is going to be brave into Pouhon this early in the race. And too brave for Castelli, who loses the car. Thankfully, nobody else gets caught up in it. But the 009 is off to the side of the track waiting for a clearing. And now he's able to get going.
Let's go back and check out this replay, Joe. I think he just dove it into the corner a little bit too hard, tried to carry a little bit too much speed into it, and those rear tires just wouldn't get it. Also here, there may be a little bit of wheel hop from some curbing here. Let's watch it. Goes down in. Yep, just dove it in too deep. Tried to be on the binders and the steering wheel at the same time. Maybe a little bit of a rear brake lockup, and that sends him around.
There does reach a point where you ask too much of the tires, and that seemed to be the case for Cristelli. I think we have some time to potentially look at the incident at the start with Christie in the 21. There's a number of other cars involved. Hoskin, I think, in there. Neil Alexander as well. This happened into Lacombe. Let's see if we can pull that one up and try and unravel that. Certainly hurt a number of drivers with so many close together here at the start of this race. This battle that we see on screen right now is between Knight, Beaufil, and Wildridge currently into Eau Rouge, and a very good run from Raphael, this time much closer. Knight doesn't look like he's got much opportunity. He'll try and go defensive regardless, and we've already seen how late Raphael can be on the brakes. Can he do it again? He's going to be on the other side compared to what he was before. Doesn't matter to him. He's going to go through.
Great job there from Beaufil. A little bit later on the brakes, missed the apex slightly, but able to get his car in front. Here is that first lap replay, Joe.
So there is Christie. And side by side into the corner. I'm trying to make out who that is he's beside. Is there contact? No, someone in front of him loses it. And that was the 520 car, Brian Hoskins. It looks like, with the 50 also getting involved. That's Blake Ziti.
Yeah, I think that may have been a little bit of a touch in the back from Ziti, and then Ziti collected around, and you can just see the absolute kerfluffle there. Drivers almost falling over themselves. All right, this will be a good overhead shot to get an idea. Ziti in that blue car. Let's see if there was indeed contact. Yep, just a little bit of a love tap, and that sent him around.
Had another incident with Beaufil's teammate Pim Luth. Came together with Mark Feil in Lacombe this lap. So the 777 is able to get going. So is the 33, but then behind them, another set of cars unfortunately got a little tangled as well. So we come back live. We've seen a few incidents so far today, but only 2 of them have been race-ending. Ficadenti, which we're still not sure what caused his slowdown, and then Patrick Gaugo, who we sadly saw, are both officially out.
Focusing back here on that battle we were following earlier, it looked like Daniel Knight had some speed over Raphael Beaufil, but out of almost nowhere, Paul Wildridge was gonna close in, but he decided to do a little Tokyo drift there on the outside of La Source.
Had such a snap, he whipped our camera out of place. And the 9 gets it going once again, but he lost a ton of time to Daniel Knight from that. And instead, Knight can now focus forward on Raphael Beaufil as they come up to Lacombe. Once again, he's got a great tow. Last time it was Raphael taking the spot. Is he going to fight it? He's going to, and Knight isn't going to argue that hard either. He's going to get back in line.
Yeah, he is. Knight just wants to try to put some pressure here. He was a little far back. Remember, I talked about the timing you want to have out of La Source and going up through Eau Rouge. I think Knight was just maybe a tenth of a second too far back to really get that move done.
So we head back to Bergstrom. Instead, this is for 10th place. Carmody just in front of him. Ooh, and Sean is way off the apex down through Rivage. He's able to swing back around in time for Speaker's corner. And Bergstrom gets a major run anyways. That orange and black Ferrari starts closing in. Breaks a little bit earlier into Pouan, and that ground gets given away once again. Down to 24 minutes left here on the clock, and Alec looks hungry.
Yes, he does indeed. A very wide exit on Speaker's corner there for him. We now jump on board with Lawson Christie, who's on a bit of a recovery drive, trying to work his way back up through. No, excuse me, Lawson's actually up right now, 4 positions ahead of him. Pim Loof is down 7. But yeah, remember, he had that first wreck that he's trying to recover from a little bit more.
Yeah, I think with all the other problems some of the drivers have experienced, that's helped him get back ahead of where he was before. And into the braking zone. Daniel Knight still unwilling to attempt it on Beaufil quite yet. We should have a much narrower pit window, if I can get the word out here, at this track, because the lap is so long. And look at this group. Carmody, Bergstrom, Hilton, McCauley, all in a quartet vying for this 10th spot.
Yeah, they're really going at it tooth and nail here, Joe. Looked like there the Baron Hilton got a pretty good run coming out of the bus stop. Whoa, right up close behind the bumper there of Alec Bergstrom. But that in turn allows for Joe McCauley to get a pretty good run there. So I think this fight is going to be in the back. They've just got to try to time this out just right. If McCauley plays this right, he may have a really good run here.
Yeah, Sean Carmody certainly got himself out of that trouble. McCauley, ooh, that was a pretty good run. It's within 0.3 of a second, but Hilton's also pulling the slipstream off of Bergstrom in front of him, and that might be his saving grace. The 00 is not going to be under attack. Oh, but he sends it in deep, makes a mistake. He actually made contact, and a secondary contact, unfortunately, with Bergstrom. 2 positions in 1 turn for McCauley just by staying out of trouble.
Oh, tough break there for both Baron Hilton and Alec Bergstrom. I think Hilton just missed his braking zone a little bit. Watch it as he comes in. Just a little bit of a tap there to Bergstrom, and Bergstrom slides back over onto the line where Baron Hilton was.
Oof. Sad to see. Those 2 drivers have yet more problems. This has been a little messy in some cases out here. Certainly has looked tough for drivers to stay out of one another. And man, that certainly came out of nowhere, and that probably did a lot more damage. That secondary hit. He pulls off the track. And did he actually take a tow?
Bergstrom did, yes. I'm still seeing Hilton out on track, but Bergstrom did indeed take a tow, Joe.
Bad day, unfortunately, for the 66 car. But it's still a pretty decent day for those up front as we get one more look from Hilton's perspective. Daniel Knight is still giving pressure to Rafael Beaufil, about half a second between those 2. They're the closest we've got up within the top 5 currently. As they come across the start-finish line, Knight looking very good off of the final chicane. This is where he really wants to get the shot off of La Source. Out of the hairpin, it's going to go downhill, and if you hit it right, should be flat out, or mostly flat out, all the way to the braking of Lacombe.
It should be indeed. That looks like it's a pretty good run there for Daniel Knight, just trying to keep it nice behind. He's definitely got the speed advantage here, already 3-4 miles an hour faster than Rafael Beaufil. Beaufil's going to go defensive, try to hold off on that inside line, but Knight is coming on like a train with a full head of steam.
Looking for his brake marker, and he's just a hair earlier than Beaufil, who will slot back in front of him. Great defense from the 786, doing a mighty job to hold him down. Baron Hilton, by the way, did come in for service, so I think that damage was enough that he's going to have to go for an early strategy, not by design, unfortunately.
Yeah, and he's definitely trying to have his virtual mechanics bang away on that car with some mallets, get things straightened out, as it were. But we continue to watch this battle with Daniel Knight. Remember, he was passed by Beau Phil earlier in the race, but he has not given up the ghost. Better line there through the entry of Pujols. He's able to keep it very, very close behind. Joe, remember what I said about the lack of aero wash in these cars? These means these guys are going to be able to follow a lot closer, and that's exactly what we're seeing here.
I think Daniel Knight is very eager to get this 4th place back. He's certainly trying, but he's not willing to risk the car. I don't think he wants to risk Beau Phil's race either, because again, 2nd place in the points, but it's Eric Luke who is leading the way, and he is our only other driver to have won so far this season, so he's going to make it number 2 for him if he can keep it where it is. As we watch this fight, we also need to remember that Macaulay back there is having his own little bit of fun. This is with Simkovic vying for 11th place. And in fact, if I'm looking, yeah, Simkovic up 12 places and Macaulay up 12 places. So hard chargers here in the mid-pack.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing some drivers taking advantage of the misfortune of others and pushing their way forward. One driver who has not had that luck is Mark Feil here. He's down 3 positions on his start. That is David Cristelli right ahead of him that he's trying to track down.
Down into La Source, just sizing him up. Doesn't seem to be close enough here. I can also tell you that Knight is getting closer to Beau Phil as we hop over to his onboard, and despite the defense, Rafael does not have to worry about going side by side into the Lacombe chicane this time.
No, he does not, but Knight just continuing to apply that pressure. I've got to think here at some point that Beau Phil may start to crack a little bit under it, and if nothing else, it's really hampering him from trying to close down that gap in front of him. It's about 1.2 seconds up the road to the final podium position of Owen McLaughlin. My guess is that Rafael's driving a little bit at his mirrors, making sure he's keeping Daniel Knight at bay, and he's not able to be in full attack mode.
Yeah, it's got to be a bit of a distraction with those mirrors being filled by that beautiful black and gold car. That is one of my favorite paint schemes we've got here in the Ferrari Challenge for the Precision Racing League, and continuing to feel the need to defend into a number of the corners. So Beau Phil is feeling threatened, no doubt.
Yeah, he really is, and I'm a bit surprised by that, Joe. I mean, remember, he got by Daniel Knight relatively easily, and I thought that 17 Ferrari was just going to fall back behind him, but Knight has kept up this charge, and look at how wide he was there on the exit of Stavlo, just pushing that car as hard as he can. He's going to get a great draft here through Blanchimont. He'll have to be aggressive if he wants to make a move into the bus stop. He's going to have a little bit of a narrower line. Is he going to go for it, or is he going to wait? He loses a little bit of time through that left-handed sweeper. I think he's going to have to stay in line here through the bus stop.
He is indeed. Also an update, we've lost a couple more drivers. Matthew Aubrey has DNF'd, Bergstrom is out, and for some reason Pim Luth pulled off at the side of the Kemmel Straight and called it a day. So the 33 is your latest retiree. Down into La Source, Daniel Knight trying to keep within the tire tracks of the 786 just in front of them. You catch flashes of the orange and blue Owen McLaughlin number 90 machine. Oh, and Joe Macaulay is in. Okay, so one of our drivers higher up electing to split this just about in half.
Yeah, and he's coming to a rest in the pit stall, so I think this is a perfectly planned pit stop for Macaulay. So nothing doing there as we continue to watch that battle with Knight and Beau Phil. Knight not able to get the move he wants down the Kemmel Straight, and looks like there that Macaulay is out and on his way. We've also had Drew Hoskins pop on into the pits.
Remember Hoskins, one of those involved in that opening incident on lap 1. There you see him down there. Is this a scheduled stop for him? I would think so. Little bit of left front damage could have been from that wreck that he had on lap 1. It was about 12.8 seconds, so mildly slower, but not really enough that I would think he put too much time into getting repairs. Daniel Knight and Beau Phil with squeaky clean cars in contrast. 786 has a gap of about half a second, at least behind to the 17. Ahead of him, it's roughly about 1.3, 1.4 there to McLaughlin.
Yeah, and Knight has fallen back here by a couple of tenths of a second. I wonder if that's going to give Raphael Beau Phil a little bit of a chance to stretch his legs, try to push ahead. Whoa! Big run wide there for Daniel Knight on the edge of Stabilo. Remember, I talked about how hard he was pushing through there. That may be a slowdown there, Joe, for the 17.
So out of Blanchimont, doesn't look like he's giving any time back. Beau Phil could be under threat, and again, he tries to cover him off down the inside, and Knight not able to get side by side. Into pit lane comes Raphael Beau Phil. He elects to pit on lap 9, and he's followed in by Paul Wildridge to boot.
All right, so we're starting to see some of these leaders pitting in here. We'll have to see how that shakes out. Some of these drivers that have been trailing behind, remember, they may be able to make it work. I think Daniel Knight in particular probably able to save some good fuel behind Raphael Beau Phil. Let's see if that overcut works for him.
Right, looks like we've also got Randy Gross in pit lane. Stetzel is back out. He also pitted. So this all is promoted Daniel Knight up into third. He'll have to still take his stop in the meantime. And here is your leader, Eric Luke. Had to miss out on 2 races so far this season. That big 0, since one of those will be able to be his drop week, but the other cannot be, has hampered his hopes of trying to challenge someone like Wager. Otherwise, he was keeping him honest with a lot of second places. We look at Drew DeWeese, who decided not to pit this time, but he is just behind Joe McCauley, who has stopped.
Yeah, so that's going to be a little bit of an interesting thing there. DeWeese is going to be running on a little bit lower fuel level, more than likely. They gain him about a mile an hour or so on the straightaways, but I don't think it's going to be quite enough. DeWeese still have a lot of room to do.
Barry Cochran just overtook Randy Gross for 8th place, both of them having finished their pit stops. As we watch from the roof of DeWeese, these two coming down through Malmedy. This is the highest part of the track, and then it's quite literally all downhill from here.
Indeed it is, and it's one of the reasons that makes Spa such a challenging circuit is so many of these downhill corners, you've got to kind of fight against the own weight of the car when you get into the braking zone. You got to be a little bit more careful. Very easy to lock the front tires when you're coming down into a steep zone like that.
Cristelli leads File and Lawson Christie. This is for 15th position down into Puhan. Cristelli now up to 13th, where he started this race. So, excuse me, this is a battle for 13th, rather. Oh, and it looks like Eric Luke is on pit lane. McLaughlin follows him in, and so does Daniel Knight. Baron Glover, the last of them to pit in, other than Drew DeWeese, who's way down in the mid-pack. Able to make it about a lap longer than their rivals, and Luke easily back out without any dramas. Anybody else going to take a quick stop? Looks like Stetzel with a bit long of one, 12.1 seconds, but he's through on Owen McLaughlin anyway. As for Raphael Beau Phil, he's now towing along Paul Wildridge, who's caught him, but he comes out behind Daniel Knight, who he was fighting with, as we're on board with Randy Gross right now, still in his chase with Cochran. And this is Beau Phil, who finds the pit strategy not working in his favor.
No, he does not. So this is going to make things a little bit interesting. And there goes Beau Phil trying to make a move to what will be the the outside there. Paul Wildridge just holding back in position, taking full advantage of the draft. Let's see what both of them can do as they go down into the braking zone here. Hopefully not too much a bang indoors. Beau Phil able to hold it out, but Knight not giving it away.
And he comes back at him, and Daniel Knight defends successfully, but Beau Phil finds a little bit of a better line down through Malmedy, shows his nose briefly, but then decides it is not worth it. Through the sunset, seeing a little bit of a wide moment from Daniel Knight, but not able to capitalize. This has been really one of the best battles in this race, but it has gone from 2 to 3 as now Paul Wildridge has certainly entered the fray.
Yes, he has indeed. And remember, we talked a little bit earlier about how Wildridge was just sort of lurking in the background and he had to watch out for him, but he is full on in this fight now. Beaufil trying to chase down here on Daniel Knight as they work their way through Fagnes right now. Oh, that was a wide line for Knight, but he's able to cover off the apex.
Carolina driver is going to have to deal with a lot of pressure because we've seen how quick Beaufil can be. And he's very good under braking. This is fixed setup, so there's no advantage to be gained in a straight line by any of the cars other than from that slipstream. And then how brave are you woeing it up? They come up towards Blanchimont. It looks like they might almost be distancing themselves from Wildridge a little bit here. I wonder if they manage not to fight each other too much, if they could try and make it 1v1 again.
They very well might, but Wildridge will get the benefit of the double draft, and look how close he was able to close up there into breaking through the bus stop. He's able to get that gap back down to about 0.3 of a second, and now it looks like Beaufil is the one in trouble with that blue and orange Eagle Vision Racing number 9 Ferrari. Whoa! That is Paul Wildridge, very brave on the brakes. He's got a lot of confidence in that Ferrari.
He gained all that lost time back. Looks like maybe Wildridge is maybe going a little too deep into the corner because Beaufil seems to really exit a little better, even though he's given away so much time to the 9. But the slipstream still there for Wildridge, and Beaufil is not defending this time. Compare that to how he was with Daniel Knight, and that's interesting. I'm not sure if that's telling or if this is a case of Beaufil just not watching his mirrors as much.
I think it may be a little bit of a reverse psychology move potentially for Beaufil. Wildridge was pretty far back. That was going to have to be a full send almost to get that move done. And I think by Beaufil just staying on the line, he may sort of be trying to give an indication to Paul Wildridge of, I'm not scared of you.
Man, some of these airborne shots just look gorgeous around here, even though it's virtual. The way that iRacing has built Spa, the woods all around the Ardennes mountain just look incredible. And this has given us some great views once again here from Cristelli, Semkovic, File, and Christie. Still vying for the 12th position. Cristelli starting to gap the 3 behind him slightly. That's Semkovic, that you see second in line, being chased by Mark File. Nobody really able to do anything into Pouan, but Spencer certainly doesn't hit the apex of the first part through that corner.
Yeah, look at the gap there that Mark File was able to close down on the back of him. He's going to make this interesting. He's just got to keep this close here through Fagnes and going down in through Campus and Stavlo. If he can keep the gap that he's got, he may have a move going down into the bus stop.
We got side by side between Beaufil and Wildridge right now, and it looks like Wildridge still can't make the spot. He did manage to get wheel to wheel with the 786, and now I think Raphael really will have to try and defend.
Yeah, I think Wildridge is not to be denied here. There again, going down through there. Wildridge got a little bit more narrow line through La Source as, we are side by side there. File trying to make the move in the back on Semkovic as they go down into the bus stop. File able to get it done.
Everybody liking the bus stop here in this latter half of the race. Let's take a look at the replay. Christie almost had something to say about it as well. Yeah, File coming from way behind and manages to get it down to the apex, and he's through.
And Joe back up front. Raphael Beaufil had to go defensive and was able to hold off Paul Wildridge into Lacombe. So no change in that position, but they were side by side coming down the Kemmel Straight.
Oh, he gives another little look. He is absolutely showing himself all over to Raphael Beaufil, trying to distract him, see if he could juke him into a mistake into one of these corners.
He's trying his best. He's really putting the screws on here. He knows he's only got about 5 minutes to go. The leader currently working his way through Fagnes right now, so I imagine we're going to be 2, maybe 3 laps to go at the line. So he knows it's now or never time.
Yeah, it looks like we're doing, if we get under 4 minutes and 35 seconds left, then we are 2 laps to go. And that's looking quite likely here because we're down to already 4:45. Out through Stavilo now. These two vying for position. This is the battle between Wildridge and Beaufil. It was the battle between Beaufil and Knight for much of the race, but this has distracted the 786 so much, he has surely lost touch as we come back to Lawson Christie once again.
Yeah, we come back here riding on board with Lawson Christie. Semkowicz looking very squirrely under braking, Joe. It's just that car doesn't seem to be doing exactly what Spencer wants it to do.
And not really what you want at a track like this, which needs it to be very stable. And he's very close here as well. This could be a great opportunity. Does Christie take it? He'll have to withstand the dirty air through Blanchimont. He does, but he's still about 2 car lengths back. And despite at least trying to put his car to the inside, it's not there.
Yeah, can't really get it done there quite yet. But they know it's time coming in, so they're going to have to get a big move on here. Ooh, we've got a little bit of a battle. This is Paul Wildridge. Is this finally it? Almost banging doors down the Kemmel Straight.
Paul's getting aggressive. He tried to pinch him down as long as he could, but Beaufil's having none of it. He still outbrakes him and retains that 5th place. Oh, and he's coming back at him now.
Is he going to try to go the long way here around Bruxelles? I think he is. Almost contact there as that was Beaufil trying to get a little bit wide. Carrying the momentum around the outside is Paul Wildridge. He's going to dive it down into No Name, and he's got the position for now.
This is a drag-down knockout fight between these two. And this is just for 5th place, by the way. But it means a lot to them, it appears. And, oh, Beaufil sliding a little bit through Pouan. He is struggling. Let's take another look at it now. Oh, my goodness, what a set of corners. This is up the Kemmel, DJ, where it all starts to kick off.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. You see there, Beaufil trying to come back across the track a little bit to force Wildridge wide. He has none of it. Keeps it in there deep. Gets just enough to try to force Beaufil off the line a little bit. Paul gathers his chickens back up under him. There you see Beaufil go a little bit wide. That's all the invitation that Paul Wildridge needs. He sends it around the outside. A very aggressive turn in there that actually compromised his line a little bit, but it compromised Beaufil's line even more, and then right in there through No Name onto the power, and that is the position for the number 9. But it looks like the Beaufil's been already able to get passed by.
He just did it right now, and we're weaving back and forth. Wildridge doesn't like that. He's trying to see if he can snatch it back up in the very next corner, but a defense down into La Source will cause a shallow line. Will Beaufil regret this off the turn? He leaves a lot of space on the outside, and Wildridge knows it. He is tucked right underneath that rear wing.
He is, but this is that timing problem that I talked about, Joe. You can't go side by side through a Rouge, and if Beaufil, or if Wildridge is forced to lift a little bit, that's going to cost him, but I think he got it just right. There he is, tucked up behind in the draft. Which way is he going to go? Beaufil holding down to the low side.
This is the white flag lap, so this is it. Once again, tries to pinch him down. When is he going to ease up? Now he goes over. Beaufil, once again, is incredible on the brakes. Did he learn his lesson from last time, though? He's going to be shallow into the last corner of Malmedy, and this time he's able to keep Wildridge from getting the run. Also covers him off down into Ravage, going the long way around. Paul Wildridge is doing his darndest to try and keep position, and he's got it into No Name. He still fights back. Beaufil wheel to wheel through 5 corners.
Oh my goodness gracious, and Beaufil trying to tuck up behind, thinking about a move going down into Poohall, but not going for it. He's really only going to have one more shot to try to get this done unless he gets a mega run here and something going into Fagnes, because we are on the white flag lap, Joe.
This has been one of the most amazing battles the Ferrari Challenge has seen all season. Unbelievable stuff between those two. But how about Eric Luke and the run that he's had? 5 seconds ahead of Stetzel. He put it on pole. He knew that Wager wasn't here today, and it's a good chance to try and make up some lost grounds. So as he plunges into the bus stop for the last time, Eric Luke will take victory number 2 this season here at Spa-Francorchamps.
A commanding drive for Luke, about 4.5 seconds ahead of his closest rival, John Stetzel, who will cross over the line to take second. We jump back to this battle. This is a last-ditch effort for Beaufil. He catches Wildridge, and they are perfectly together backing up, but they've got to try to get across the line because those are other cars coming on through.
Oh, they're going to lose multiple positions, going 3 wide. Beaufil tries to get going, contact with Glover, and Randy Gross moves up to 6. It is Cochran who gets 5th place. Oh, that little Eskimo kiss just unfortunately cost them a little too much. And Beaufil giving an apology over the radio. Let's see from the perspective of the 786.
Yeah, so this is him just trying to get the toe here out of Stablo. Does a good job with it. Starts to tuck up behind through the first part of the corner and then dives in here through Blanchimont. Very late on the brakes here, going into the bus stop for Beaufil. Here's what I'm talking about. Tries to dive it. That car, I think there was a little bit of a lock up there, something not right. There you see Wildridge just spinning around. Beaufil trying to give him the position back. Beaufil got out of the way, and there are the other cars that were able to sweep up by, and there's that contact with Beaufil as they all try to charge to the line.
Wild stuff at the finish of this race, and 22 drivers left on the lead lap. Eric Evans going to be coming across here in a moment as we give an above look. I think a little, yeah, that looked to me a little bit like some netcode involved. So credit to Beaufil. He was trying his darndest to not make contact, and then that had to have been scary for Raphael seeing that happen, almost getting turned again. But that's going to take us to the results here of today's race. Round 6 went to Eric Luke, with John Stetzel, your second place finisher. Owen McLaughlin rounded out the podium today. And it was Daniel Knight who finished in 4th. I'm sure he's happy after all that happened behind him that he was able to get away from that craziness. But Barry Cochran gathering up from 9th to 5th on the last corner, blasting past a bunch of cars that are all stopped. Randy Gross doing the same for 6th place as Beaufil recovered to 7th, and Baron Glover in a P8. It was Paul Wildridge in 9th, and Carmody rounding out your top 10.
In 11th, it was Joe McCauley, followed by David Cristelli, with Mark Feil down 2 spots on his starting position to come home 13th. Spencer Semkowicz had a good run through the field to come home in 14th, up 10, with Lawson Christie behind him, and your biggest mover of the race, Leif Hellberg, in 16th. He was up 13 on his starting spot. Brian Hoskins was 17th, followed by Yannick Belleville, with Joseph Gerson and Drew DeWeese rounding out your top 20.
It was Luke Sutton in 21st, with Eric Evans the last on the lead lap in 22nd. Charlie Sumner in P23, 1 lap down. Baron Hilton 2 laps down in 24th, and Neil Alexander in 25th. From there, it's all DNFs down to 31st, including Luth, Bergstrom, Aubrey, Ziti, Cowgill, and Ficadenti. We have our winner ready to talk to us, Eric Luke from the 709 machine, taking his 2nd win of the season. Eric, congratulations. With the nature of this track, though, were you at all worried at any stage during this race that maybe those behind could latch on and draft you up to the pit stops?
Oh, absolutely. I tried to get the best start possible coming out of the bus stop, final chicane. which I think I kind of caught everybody off guard. I felt kind of guilty about that a little bit, if I'm being honest, but breaking the draft here is pretty huge. And once I was able to break the draft on John, it was just a matter of settling into a pace and keeping the distance between us, and just doing a little tire management along with it.
I know you didn't have Wager here. Does that take away from the victory at all for you, or is it still just as special?
Yeah, I was thinking about that as we were racing with Wager not being here. I would have rather taken the victory with him here. I can only race who I'm put up against, but last season, I don't know if you guys remember, I gave up the win to my teammate. I let him take the victory. He was fighting for the team championship, so I'm glad to mark up the win column here at Spa finally.
Yeah, that has got to feel good too. It's such a legendary track. We didn't see it at Lime Rock and at Interlagos. Is that going to be the end of your missing races? Are you going to be here till the finale?
That's what I'm hoping. Interlagos, I was pulled away for a work function, so I wasn't able to attend the race last Tuesday. So hopefully I've got my schedule worked out so that I can be here and finish off the season, and hopefully take Jonathan all the way down to the wire.
So crossing fingers, we want to see a close championship. Who helped make this P1 possible?
Well, you guys did, of course. Didn't you know that?
I wish we had an influence on that.
No, I do want to thank John Stetzel. He pushed me pretty hard. He kept me honest throughout the whole race. I'm really excited for him to grab a P2, and I think that moves him up a spot in the championship as well. And Owen had a hell of a race for P3 as well. So congrats to those guys.
That was Eric Luke, your winner here today. And I believe we've got our third place finisher. DJ's caught up with Owen McLaughlin.
I have indeed. Owen, you were under a little bit of pressure there in the beginning, but after the pit stops, you were able to streak away and pretty much be running a race all your own.
Yeah, it was pretty uneventful. I just had to maintain the same pace as Daniel, just try to keep that 2 or 3 seconds. I knew I wasn't going to be able to chase down Eric or John. They were just too fast. So I was just trying to keep it safe and keep it easy, and ended up being pretty easy race.
Well, at a place like Spa that, is kind of known a little bit for taking a lot of off tracks from you, is there any way you sort of differently prepare for a race like this where you've got to be super precise to not run afoul of the incident limit?
I mean, this track is not as bad as it used to be. I mean, they improved the off tracks, and that helped a lot. But yeah, I think the biggest thing here is the tires. You just got to keep it easy. Try to, take it easy care of those tires, because your fastest laps are your first couple laps, and after that, you're about a half second slower. So that's all I was really trying to do, just take it easy, be smooth, and hopefully the guys behind me were racing more and wearing out their tires more, so they wouldn't be able to catch me.
Well, we head from one of the homes of British or European GT racing to one of the homes of American GT racing next week in Road Atlanta. How do you think that's going to go for you and the Eagle Vision Racing team?
It should be a lot of fun. Teammate Paul and John, they actually really love that track, so they should do pretty well. I'm kind of indifferent. It's not really my favorite track, but it should be good. It's been a really fun league, and it's been a great season. It's kind of nice to actually be somewhat competitive with some other guys. So and it'd be nice to race at Road Atlanta without the LMP2s coming hitting you, because that's what happened last time I was racing.
Yeah, it's got to be a good perk there, Owen. Anybody you want to thank for this run here today?
Yeah, just say thanks to you guys for covering us. You guys are doing a great job, and thanks for PRL for holding a great league, and thanks for my teammates for helping me out. So,
well, thank you very much. That was Owen McLaughlin, your third place finisher here today. Joe?
Which will wrap up our interviews, but our broadcast is not over. We have more racing as we head on over, of course, to our next one for the GT3 Am Series. Stick around for more to come here on GSRC.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system, we install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're going to give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much going to be a turnkey. So he's going to press start on his computer, and right after we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Welcome back to the Nürburgring. We're getting ready to watch the GT3 Amateur Series here for the Precision Racing League. And because this isn't quite as famous necessarily as the Nordschleifer, we have our handy track guide ready to introduce you. Welcome to the Nürburgring. Often overshadowed by its older, bigger brother, the Nordschleife, the Grand Prix course has actually accrued quite a bit of history itself. This modern circuit was built in the early 80s as a replacement for the lesser-known Southern Loop. And while it was updated and extended in 2002, it stayed roughly 3 miles in length throughout its history. However, the addition of the Mercedes Arena brought about a total of 6 different layouts to choose from, with the longest including 16 turns. Though not as fearsome as the ring, it's technically challenging and carries its own fair share of elevation change. Plus, the types of corners come in a wide variety, ranging from the heavy braking into the sharp hairpin of the first turn, to the swift Schumacher S, which is still not quite flat out in a lot of modern cars. Passing can sometimes come at a premium, and drivers are often forced to get creative if they find themselves stuck behind a competitor. But the difficulty that elicits mistakes means that patience can pay off for those who stay diligent. While Formula One raced here on and off for a few decades, it now mainly hosts GT and touring car racing, along with some lower-tier open-wheel series. In the end, race fans certainly shouldn't overlook the importance of this German circuit. While it may not carry the fame of its counterpart, it holds up well and helps keep this worldwide phenomenon relevant to modern racing. There you see a little bit about this place, but DJ, we saw it last night with the GT3 Pros, and it looked like it is very tough to try and overtake around here.
Yeah, it's not exactly the easiest track to get a pass or two done around here, Joe, and that's mainly because the long straightaways are really kind of broken up by some sweepers and the lack of heavy braking zones. Now, that said, there are 3 areas that you can kind of look to get things done. Number 1, the Dunlop hairpin down at the far left of the track is an area, but because you're coming out of the forward curve right there, it's not really as much of an area to get it done. We've also seen some good moves maybe going down past into the NGK chicane. The problem with that is that's really a one-lane section of track, so you've got to get the pass done before you go in there, before you run the risk of going too wide. Now, really, the easiest place to get it done is going down the main straightaway into the Haug hook. The problem with that, though, is that because of the Mercedes Arena section, it allows for some very, very interesting fight backs from any drivers you're trying to overtake. So there's a little bit of give and take all over the map here in where to go. But drivers are going to have to watch out for some of these high-speed corners, Valvoline, Ford, the Schumacher S, Michelin, and Warsteiner, as we did see them catch some people out last time out.
Yeah, it proved to be pretty tricky. Now, speaking of tricky, this championship, as I mentioned, has been tricky for everybody but Vincent Trepanier, who's got about a 20-point lead over Kevin Norris. Robbie Campbell, a distant third. He's got Langlois tied with Reedy there in fourth and fifth, both chasing him. As similar to the other one, Nicholson isn't even in the top five in the points, but he's our other driver to have won this season. I'll have to check and see if he is here today, and he is indeed, it looks like. We also have a teams championship, and DJ, how's that one?
Well, ASR AMA has a pretty substantial lead to the tune of about 54 points over NCR Motorsports Yellow, with L1 Esports Red about 30 points behind them. But they are tied in a very close battle with TML Motorsports, both tied 84 points back, and YS Motorsport looking to maybe close that gap a little bit, only 8 points back there themselves. So definitely some room for fights here in that third place battle.
Absolutely. And looks like we won't have Kevin Norris here tonight as we look at the race details. Sadly, it sounds like we're hearing his pedals have broke. Meanwhile, we are in round 6, as we mentioned, and it's a little different from what we witnessed with the Ferraris over at Spa. It's a 40-minute race, 5 minutes longer, still has a pit stop throughout it, though. Open setup in this one as well, and they have the same drive-through and disqualification penalties, and much like we saw with Spa, this track has a lot of paved runoffs, so it is a bit of a danger, and there were a few that got penalized Monday night. Bonus for fastest lap pole, or 3 incidents or less. And we are just getting the first of our times down. It looks like, no surprise, Vincent Trepanier on provisional pole.
Yeah, just holding down that position that he has held down many, many a time this year. And right now, over Sepulveda, he's got it to the tune of about 0.8 of a second. So a big statement there from Trepanier. Here comes Nick McLaughlin, though. We talk about this every week. The lone driver out there in the Ford GT, seeing what he can do as they come around. Rafael Vieira bumps his way up into second place, though.
I want to know who his crew chief is that always shows up in the flannel PJ pants, because they certainly look like they're very comfortable. Hopefully that helps them guide him through this race. We watch him come through the final chicane. And 67, a lot of curb there, unfortunately. That didn't look very good for him. He's going to come out of the final chicane. We'll see if this one even counted. He might have taken too much curb and gotten a 1X. And yeah, that one, unfortunately, is a no-go. So that got deleted. He's got to cycle back around again.
Yeah, indeed, he does. So just waiting for some more drivers to put a time down. Looks like Alexander Breton decided to take his way back into the pits here as we continue to watch McLaughlin, Vieira, Reedy, Breton, and Campbell all opting to take a tow and come back in and reset the car.
Yeah, so Vargas, Burmeister, Espina, Swindells, and McLaughlin are the drivers that still need laps. If you see Kevin Norris on the screen, well, sadly, as we mentioned, the 774 will not be able to attend today due to hardware issues. And Bowden, for some reason, is also not in the session right now, despite signing in. We are unsure as to what happened to Dawn. We watch Belval, and Claude currently sitting in, it's like the 5th position here.
Yeah, currently in 5th in the favored BMW out here. We talked a lot last night about how the Ferrari and the Lamborghinis were looking pretty good. Well, in this series, it is BMWs all at the top right now. As Belval is going to cross over the line, not able to improve there, so he'll stay in 5th place.
Okay, so who is next across the line? Looks like Chet Miller in the 31. He unfortunately was involved in a wreck last week that wasn't his fault. 58.2, a little bit faster, but he stays in 22nd place.
Yeah, so he's not going to have a lot of movement there. The Lambos looking like they're struggling a little bit out here today. We ride on board with Chet Miller, one of those Lamborghini drivers, as he works his way through that twisty sweeper section to start off the lap, going through the long left-hander of the Mercedes arena, and now he pitches his way back out onto track.
Things are getting a bit dire for Nick McLaughlin. His second lap got deleted just now. He's only got time for one more as we come back to the Ford, down into the Haug hook. He's got to keep this clean from here. And certainly looks like the car likes to bounce over some of these curbs. Wonder how tightly he's got this thing sprung.
I'm not sure, Joe, but, we talked about it last night that these GTs can take a little bit more of a beating than some of their open-wheel counterparts. He looks good there. I don't think that's going to be an off-track for him as he comes out of the arena. That might be right there, though.
And it's a little bit of a mistake, so even if it does count, it's going to be extremely slow. If he has to start from the back of the grid, it'll be the second week in a row for him that he's had issues with it. Meanwhile, a minute and some left. We got drivers now coming across for their final lap, checking to see who are getting their effective checkered flag, even though it's not the literal one. Looks like Suin doesn't improve. Lyons does not either. Belfall fails to go any quicker. Watching from the nose of the 62, just kind of weaving back and forth. Yeah, he's just goofing around at this stage. And this is Breton in the 89. As he comes up to the chicane. Villegas also coming across in front of him. And this is the Schumacher S, excuse me, not the final chicane. Looks like Villegas not able to go any quicker. Nathan Nicholson, winner earlier this season, not able to go quicker. Vargas, neither either. So, Breton, who we've been following, might have a bit of an open door here if he can just put a decent one down. A lot of drivers struggling to get a quicker time. Well, Rob Campbell does. He goes up to 5th. McLaughlin abandons his lap. He will indeed start from the tail end of the field. Breton out of the NGK chicane. The 89 currently sitting in 9th place. First lap was a 55.8. Is the BMW going to be any faster? The third time of asking. And no, he is way off the time. That is not going to do it. Trepanier pretty much has the pole, and he knows that he's going to pull into pit lane.
Yes, he is. About 25 seconds left on the clock. I think Ethan Tavitas is going to call it a day. He's going to come on in. Villegas doesn't look like he's going to be able to get one. Third place, Sepulveda is going to come to the line. Let's see if Vincente has anything here for these leaders. Doesn't look like it.
No, he did not improve. Nobody behind him has yet. But Swindells does. 56.2 up to 13th. And the last second across the line. Glad he finished that one. But let's go through our starting order here today. Trepanier with another bonus point for pole position. Vieira starting to his outside. That is interesting. Sepulveda starts from P3 as Reedy will be in 4th. Rob Campbell third in the points, but starting from 5th as Claude Belval will be to his outside. Nathan Nicholson is exactly where he is in the points here on the grid. 7th, it is Devin Horvath who will start 8th with row 5, having Breton on the inside and Xanadakis on the outside.
Starting off in 11 will be Jorge Ordonez Villegas with Felipe Magnan in 12th. Richard Swindells will be 13th, followed by Christopher Rines, and behind them in row 8, it's Jean-Claude Langlois with Ethan Tabitas in 16th. Marc-Andre Desjardins will line up behind them alongside Fabio Scardura with Michael Pavillano and Jose Malbran rounding out your top 20.
David Morse in 21st, followed by Vargas in 22nd. It is Paul Espina, P23. Suen did get a lap down. He'll start from 24th as Miller is 25th. And the last driver to set a time was Jason Burmeister in 26th position. McLaughlin is, well, the only driver that failed to set a time, since Norris and Bowden don't look like they will be lining up. So tail end Charlie for Nick McLaughlin. And from what we saw yesterday, DJ, that's not the place you want to be at a track like this.
No, not at all, Joe. You want to be able to get your way forward as quickly as possible, and unfortunately, passing here on track is at an absolute premium. So McLaughlin's really going to have his work cut out for him here today.
A little bit of wind. Seems like it's gusting. It's gone from 12 to 9 since we first took a look here at the temperatures, but quite cool on the track surface at 66 Fahrenheit. We start our short pace lap behind the pace car, Canadian Trepanier, looking for victory number 5 here in round 6. His main rival, Caven Norris, not there to challenge, and Robbie Campbell starting down in 5th. This is a great opportunity for him to really put some distance between himself and the others. As we come up to the pit lane, pace car is in. Trepanier has control from here. Gonna guess that he's waiting for the exit of the hairpin out of Coca-Cola, and he's off like a shot. The 87 takes the green flag here for round 6 of the PRL GT Am Series, immediately diving down to the inside to follow his slipstream, Raphael in the 51, then comes back to the outside, covering off. Trepanier felt enough threatened that he had to try and cover him off. 3 wide behind him, but so far so good. I'm not seeing any incidents through the field.
Oh, I just saw David Morse having a little bit of a spin in his Ferrari, but not too much damage there as they make their way now out of the Mercedes-Benz arena. We are still side by side there in the mid-pack, but these leaders,
Sepulveda spun, and he's facing backwards in the racing line, and another car spins trying to avoid him, Desjardins off track, but thankfully everybody was able to dodge around either side, and so only 2 cars self-spinning.
Thank goodness. That had a real recipe for disaster written all over it. Is Vincent Trepanier out front, already getting a pretty commanding lead out here, just trying to stretch that BMW away from the rest of the field, as we've seen him do many times this season.
Absolutely, and through the Schumacher S, he's already up to about 9/10 of a second over Raphael. Closest fight amongst those top 5 is between Campbell and Belval. We look at Villegas as well, who is quite close to Nathan Nicholson, up 1 position from where he began this race. And this is the great opportunity for Jorge. He needs the exit, and he gets it. He could try and challenge into the chicane.
Yeah, and this is exactly what I talked about. Nicholson trying to go down a little bit defensive, but that's a little bit of a dummy there sold from Villegas. But Nicholson's going to have the inside line as they go down into the chicane. Villegas has to back off. One-way street down there through that left-right complex.
Oh, but he cut the course, and he has to slow. Nicholson is giving away a bunch of spots here at the start. Thankfully, everybody's heads up. They're able to get around him. That is horrible stuff for the 56, and he's already slowed down the front stretch. Looks like Langlois is actually, he checked up there. I'm not sure why. Oh, and we've had a wreck. This is Rob Campbell, one of our championship contenders, and I'm trying to figure out who else that was. That was Rady.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what happened there, Joe. Let's go ahead and check out the replay on this. I just saw the smoke as it came up out of the first corner. So here we go, looking for Reedy and Campbell as they come on down into the Howe hook.
Ooh. I think the curb of the grass just put Campbell off his foot, and unfortunately, as he tried to get the car slowed up, he just clipped Louise, and the 2 of them, whoa, and then another hit there for Campbell as he was returning to the track. Let's see from Campbell's perspective. Wow. Yeah, that happened extremely quickly. Very little time for him to respond, but still, that was Campbell's mistake. So you kind of have to put the blame completely on him.
Yeah, I kind of have to do the same, Joe, as we ride now on board with Alexander Breton. That is Villegas trying to hunt down Horvath in front of him. The best, or that is, yeah, I was right there. Villegas trying to hunt down Horvath. All of this turning into a three-way fight.
Jorge up from 11th on the grid to 5th, looking for P4. Horvath in the white Porsche is going to have to defend, because here comes Jorge Villegas. He has to look around the outside, but he brakes early. He knows that side by side through there does not work well. Gives a little bit of a hello to the 32.
Little bit of contact maybe there between the two, but nothing that looks like significant damage as they come around. Breton there taking that correct line through Coca-Cola. You see just how close you have to get to that inside Armco to really make that line work. Meanwhile, Vincent Trepanier out front, setting the fastest lap of the race and already pulling ahead to about a 2-second advantage.
Indeed, and man, that contact for Jorge in the 101 cost him a lot. Checking up put him almost 3/4 of a second away from Horvath. Instead, we look at the view from Breton here. The BMW trying to chase down his fellow BMW through the Mercedes arena, and nobody able to gain much, at least at that section. There's your battle for 4th. The train of cars behind them kind of being given tow. Zanadakis, Swindells, and Reedy.
Yeah, everybody here just holding on, waiting for a mistake potentially to happen in front of them. That's where we saw the majority of passes get made last night, Joe. It's just pressuring those drivers into a little bit of an error and waiting for them to have an off track and then pouncing. And that's exactly what's happening right there, coming out of the hairpin.
Yeah, Nick McLaughlin gets into Desjardins, who tips into Burmeister. The 3 wide into Ford just went about how you would expect it to.
Going back here to check out this replay, McLaughlin there in that red Ford. You see the battle shaping up in front of him. Comes on out there as they make their way down the hill. This is heading into Valvoline right now. Tries to check himself up, tries to go for a move. That was always going to close on him. That was never going to work.
And somebody didn't tell Nick that just because it's called Ford Corner, it doesn't mean that it is always Ford's Corner. So he'll lose some positions, but he gains 2 since those 2 spun out next to him. And look at the disappointment on his face. He's already not liking this race today, and I wouldn't be terribly happy either.
No, I wouldn't be either. We've seen some really great drives out of Nick. This is where you've just got to kind of pull yourself up by your own bootstraps and get on going. As they push their way forward here, and see a little battle shaping up in front of him. That's Chet Miller and Jason Burmeister, so he may have a little bit of redemption to get past them if they continue to scrap.
Side by side down into the first corner, and actually coming across a car off track. That's Scardura, as the 74 of Burmeister is going to go by him, and so will Chet Miller, who Scardura just overtook.
All right, there you go. We jump back up here to that battle that we've been following, that train that has been going along. This is Luis Reedy as he tries to close in on the back of Richard Swindells and Nico Zanadakis right ahead of them. Zanadakis has lost a little bit of touch with Alexander Breton ahead of him, but it's still within striking distance.
And don't need to go to it, but Rob Campbell had another spin on his own in the Mercedes arena. And also Nick McLaughlin just had another off again at Ford Curve. Sweet.
Night going from bad from worse there for Nick, unfortunately. But there is your leader already getting a 4-second lead, Joe.
Yeah, Vieira just has had no response here today. Seems as though his qualifying gap up to Trepanier is legit, because he's been just continuing to drop and drop. Breton back here in 6th spot, trailing behind Villegas. They've also got Devin Horvath a little ways in front, but ever since that little mistake from Jorge into the NGK chicane, he's not been able to regain the many car lengths that he's lost to that white Porsche.
No, he really hasn't, unfortunately. We look out rear there of that car of Villegas, just trying to keep that machine at bay behind him. Ooh, little bit braver under braking there for the BMW. Oh, we've had it coming together. That's Reedy. Rines, I think, is off. Zanadakis, Swindell's.
Yeah, 3 cars coming together in a big way. Calamity corner for the GT3 AMs has been Haug Hook. It is hooked around Zanadakis, who was at the front, really the innocent victim in it, with Swindell's and Reedy just going to plow in. If you watch this from above, it's basically just dominoes here.
Yeah, so that's Zanadakis there in that leading blue BMW as they come down into the braking zone on the binders there. Way too much speed from behind. 1, 2, 3, and around they go.
I think Reedy was the one in the back, I believe. No, it was Nicholson, I think, in the 56. Oh, no, excuse me, it was not Nicholson, but he did get a good view of it. Try another look at things. Oh, and I can tell you that Nicholson just had a spin on his own in live action. And this is the view from Reedy, who outbrakes himself and plows into both of them. What's the name of that little desk toy that has the balls that kind of clack together? It's kind of what it looked like there a little bit.
I don't know the name of it, Joe. Newton's Cradle. That's what it is, Newton's Cradle.
Our very wise and smart director giving us the information behind the scenes. So we continue on, and the GT3 AMs are not finding it hard to pass. They're finding it hard to stay out of each other here today. Luis, who keeps racing, is down to 8th. Remember, he began this one in 4th. Kind of amazing. After being involved in 2 incidents, he is only down to 8th. I would have thought he'd be farther down than this.
Yeah, I would be too, and he's definitely got some damage to the front of that BMW, so definitely running a little bit with a handicap here, but it doesn't look like it's affecting him too much. He's able to keep up some good pace.
Wonder how many incidents Nick McLaughlin has. He just had another self-spin, and remember, they only get 13 before they are DNF'd, and, well, he's weaving across the track. So I guess it's gone from disappointment to just, well, let's just have fun with today. And some big damage on the left-hand side. I gotta think he's close to getting a penalty with how many incidents he's racked up at this stage. We've already seen at least 10, I think.
Yeah, he is not having the best of days, but as we ride on board with Alexander Breton here, you can see the sun coming out over this racing circuit. That may heat things up a little bit, give a little bit more grip to these drivers out on track. That will be good news. It means they can be a little bit more aggressive as the race goes along.
Nice and close to the back of Jorge, but we haven't seen him attack yet, at least since we've been following this fight. Could have maybe when we turned the cameras away for a moment. Coming into the chicane. He's definitely too far back for this one. Now look how aggressive, though, that Alexander is able to be on the curbs. He looked a lot stronger through there than Jorge was.
Yeah, Joe, and unlike the Ferrari series that we covered just before this, this is an open setup series, so we could be dealing with some drivers with a little bit softer suspension to take a little bit more clatter over those curbs, and that may be playing out here for Brett.
Yeah, even though there's some very flat ones, there are definitely some that if you want to get aggressive, you got to be able to take some bumps. And, oh, speaking of bumps, it almost bumps the back of Villegas.
Yeah, almost does there. Ooh, trying to get around, trying to see what he can do. That looks like a pretty decent run there out of the Mercedes arena. Indeed, he's going to poke his nose to the outside.
I don't know about trying to go too wide through Valvoline, and yep, he knows that he's going to back out. Setting him up for Ford, forcing him shallow. Jorge taking a little bit of an awkward line, but the exit isn't enough of a launch for the 89. Breton is going to have to try again later.
Yeah, he's going to have to gather things back up under him and just keep at this. That's the way we've seen passes get done here at the Nürburgring. It is just constant pressure, and that's the way to get by.
Is that a Spoon reference? Anyways, as we come through, down through the Schumacher S. Some of our drivers in a tight little fight here, a little farther down the pack. Langlois chasing behind Swindels, but they've also got Tavitas in there, Philippe Magnon, and, well, Nathan Nicholson, who's been having an adventurous race down from 7th on the grid to 13th right now.
Yeah, just trying to hold it up. Whoa, there goes Breton down to the inside, harder onto the brakes into the NGK chicane, and he's got the move done for now. Let's see if he can hold that.
Sure, he'll want to try and pull away. We're going to take another look at it because I don't think anybody's going to have a good enough launch here off of Coca-Cola, but brilliant move. Despite this being a heavy braking zone, it is a little bit tough to try and execute. It always is going into a chicane. You got to be really confident that you can get through there, and he did.
Yeah, very much did. Just went in and send it. That's a good way to get forward. Let's go ahead and move Jean-Paul Langlois up into 9th position. We now right on board with even Tavitas, who's trying to get a little move on Swindels.
Thought they were gonna make contact, and well, that really hurt Tavitas, and Magnon says, thank you very much. I'm gonna try and make a move down into Valvoline. They do go wheel to wheel, but Philippe around the outside opens up the door for Nicholson, who can't execute himself.
No, he can't. So there, the story of what could have happened between all of these drivers. Magnon now thinking about a move there down into the corner on Tavitas. Tavitas braking a little bit at the apex, just trying to slow up the momentum of Magnon. They climb back up the hill, and there is Nicholson all in that rear view camera.
That Italian engine coming out towards Michelin now, trying to see if he can overtake the Porsche, but nothing doing this time. When will we start seeing some drivers take pit stops? Is there anybody getting frustrated enough by this circuit to try and undercut around here?
They very well might. The only problem is just going to be where they plop out in traffic, Joe. I think if you're running in the back of the field, it's worth a shot to try to come out and get some clean air and run some good laps. But if you're really from about, I'd say, the top 10 or so, you run a big risk of coming out behind some slower cars, and that's going to negate any undercut that you attempt to do.
What's wild is even with all the spins and wrecks that we've seen, we're not even close to getting a car lapped. Everybody's still on the same lap. In fact, it's still half a lap before we get a car going down the, overtaken by the leader. And here is that leader, the 87 of Trepigny, now up to nearly 8 seconds over Rafael Vieira.
Yeah, he is really and truly just putting the screws to this field, and it is an impressive sight to see, let me tell you.
In fact, Rafael might be a little bit more concerned with his mirrors than he is his windshield, because Belval is still only 0.8 of a second behind. Now, he's not within attacking range as we hop on board with the BMW. You can see the car ahead. You can also see there's a lot of air between them right now, so I don't think he's going to be able to do much unless he can get a mistake out of Rafael, which he is keeping him honest, so he's doing what he needs to do for the time being.
Driver who is a little bit closer here is Luis Reedy, who's coming up behind Christopher Rhines. This is the battle of the BMWs, which is the favored make out here today. They dive their way down here into that. Whoa, that was a wide line there for Rhines. Is that going to open him up to Reedy here?
It might just, but it looks like Luis doesn't get the exit that he really needs. So coming through the kink and back up the hill, under braking. That's too much distance between himself and the 111. But Christopher once again with a little bit of mistake. And now Luis sees his hopes reinvigorated. And they're coming around Coca-Cola in a slide with a shallow entry for Christopher Rhines. He's shaken up, and now it's allowing Luis to really challenge him. Can he finally get this 7th place away? This has been a danger zone into the Haug hook. Can he manage to keep the car together this time? He does brake late, but he doesn't show his nose.
No, I think he may be trying to go for exactly that. A little bit of an overcut there and tries to cut back on Ryan's ahead. Still not working, but Reedy just in full maximum pressure mode here. Remember, Reedy does have some pretty significant damage to the front right of that car. Whoa!
Well, now he has even more damage to the right front of the car because he just clipped Rines as he was spinning out. Thankfully for Christopher, he actually returned him. Oh, and the damage might be too bad for Luis because he went straight on. Let's stick on this replay after the incident. Luis must have bent the suspension or the steering because he just went plowing into the gravel. There's the contact. And it's straight on from here, so he just may not have been aware that, well, he's steering it to the left.
Yeah, the toes knocked out pretty badly. He hit the grass, tried to get on the braking. That was just an absolute combination of calamity there for Luis, and that is going to bring him back into pit lane with a toe.
So that just ended his race. All four wheels into the air. Unfortunately for Luis, Reedy, and as spectacular as it looks, it's not fun for him. So Claude Belval still 0.6 of a second behind Rafael Belval, who looks like he's maybe wavering across the track a little bit to try and break that slipstream. He's just about to the halfway mark. Oh, and did we have Christopher Rines? Christopher Rines failed to enter the pits. He has hit the pit entry wall.
Oh no, we go to check out this replay. Yeah, he just tried to get that car woed down there a little bit and it didn't work.
A David Coulthard moment for the 111, just plowing into it. Our director may know different types of physics gadgets, but he doesn't know Formula One compared to NASCAR, apparently. As we see the damage repaired, but not much of it, and that looked like pretty much a scheduled stop, so Ryan's maybe doing what he can, coming in a little early.
Yeah, and it may not be too heavy of damage there, Joe. He was trying to break down to get into the pit lane, so it's not like he hit that Armco at full speed. So hopefully he'll be able to at least escape without having a damaged car, although he will certainly be falling down the order after that.
Now look at this. We have not covered Swindells a whole lot, but he's putting some serious pressure on Langlois for 7th place. They're also pulling along a couple cars a little bit behind them. That's Tavitas, Mignon, and Nicholson, but they're far enough away that he doesn't have to worry right now. So we're going to watch from on board the BMW, giving chase. Interesting to note as well, with the makes of cars, BMW is the one to have today. Porsche is the only one showing within the top 7, and that's Horvath sitting P4.
Yeah, and this is a little bit of a change from what we saw in the Pro Series, Joe. We had a pretty even disparity of cars in that top 10. The Lamborghinis, obviously the Ferrari taking the win yesterday, Porsche, BMW, all of that. And in this AM Series, it just appears to be that BMW is the way to go.
Didn't we hear that the turbo in this car tends to do pretty well at high altitudes when we're at Interlagos? That we are on a mountain in the Eifel Mountains here, so I'm putting 2 and 2 together, and I'm guessing that this is another place where they just thrive here today. Yeah, there's a beautiful view of the rolling hills around here. We got a couple other takers in the pits, Scardura and Campbell, 2 other drivers that have not been having very fun days out there in Germany, so they don't lose a lot by trying to take a risk with an earlier stop.
No, yeah, they'll come in and hopefully be able to pit themselves out in some clean air, maybe just jump a few of their rivals that they were running with in the back of the field. There you can see just waiting for the service to get done. No tires put on these cars. That is just unnecessary time in a pit stop. Instead, they come in and out with fuel only.
And looks like Nick McLaughlin in again, but otherwise not seeing anybody else throughout the field deciding to come down. So Vieira and Belval close. We've got Swindell's, Tavitas, and Mignon close, along with Nicholson. Other than that, not many cars still remaining tight together. So we look at the fight for second place once again, and it looks to me like Claude, well, has clawed back forward. He's got himself now within 0.3 of a second.
Yeah, he's been really putting in some good laps. He was about 1/10 of a second faster on that last lap out, and he was about 0.3 of a second on that last lap that they just ran around. There you can see the differential in between the two. So really and truly, wide line there for Vieira. He's able to get back and cover it over, but that's not going to do him any favors in terms of Vettel's overall pace here.
Oh, and he gives him a little love tap. Sends him wide at the apex, gives him another shove. Things are getting rough, and now they come together fully as that happens behind them. Suddenly catching up. Here comes Devin Horvath into the mix, and he might be able to get both of them, but he's going to have to go the long way around of Raphael. No, he does get one, and now we've got a three-way battle.
Joe, I think that's what we call getting your elbows out here at the Nürburgring. Let's watch this again on replay coming down the main straightaway. As I said, this was really all set up by Vieira just not getting down to the apex into the Haug hook.
And our director made a NASCAR reference earlier behind the scenes, but this is starting to look a little more NASCAR than FIA over here.
Yeah, it is a little bit. All right, so we ride on board with Bevel here. There you can see that slow speed. He's going to bring it onto the outside, go around the outside, trying to carry that momentum. A little bit of love tap. Now cuts it back to the inside. There's that contact between the two. Both of them forced wide. Devin Horvath says, "Thank you very much. I will come on through."
He didn't mean to wreck him, just meant to rattle him, and it went a little south for him. We're going to watch from on board once again, and this time from Horvath, just sandwiching himself between the pair of them. None of the three trying to pit. Oh, if we come back live, they just came together once again, and once again, Riviera hit, but this time he tips Horvath around, and now Belval gets both spots. This is getting messy out there. I have a feeling the stewards are going to be making some rulings after today.
Yeah, this looked a little nasty. That's a little bit of an overeager move there from Devin Horvath as he dove down on the inside. He had a nose in there, but there you see Horvath coming in. All right, let's watch this again. Yeah, let's watch this from the overhead.
This will give us a good idea. How ambitious was he? He was pretty far back, and the door was left open. So, yeah, I think in this case, I'd say that Horvath had reason to try and get himself into there.
Yeah, let's take a look here with Horvath on board. Yeah, the door's open. I mean, he's going to be swinging him down there like that for sure, but that door was left open, and Horvath is entitled to try to go for that line if he can, with Vieira leaves it open as he did.
Wow, well, that hurt a number of drivers. So we come back to Nathan Nicholson, just behind Mignon, Tavitas, Swindels, Langlois, and now Horvath is at the front of it instead in 6th place. But still not many changes in this group. I expect we'll see a few of those drivers in pit lane that we saw involved in that incident. Belval, Vieira, and Horvath. Oh, actually, if we look at Vieira, Breton is sizing him up, and he doesn't try and make a pass, but he was thinking about it. Let's see who ducks in. Vieira, but nobody else of this quartet.
All right, so Vieira probably just wants to take that time at pit lane to just sort of reset his brain a little bit. When you get into an incident like that, it can be helpful to just pull in, not be on the track, take a minute as the car's refueling, and get yourself mentally reset.
Horvath pits in, and Magnon is also in. So there's 3 takers from the front to mid-pack, and allowing others to get a little bit of clear air amongst themselves. So we watch Breton coming down in through the Mercedes arena, chasing Claude Belval. Claude having to get his elbows out to try and get up to this second position with 12 minutes left to go. And all of that fighting, the other thing it's done, I'm looking at the gap, it's 18 seconds from the leader back. Trepanier might just have his most dominant win yet.
Yeah, not only has he just done a very, very clean job of running through this race, but also just avoiding any of the fracas there behind him, letting those drivers fight it out, and he is just running his own race. Oh, Villegas having a little bit of a self-spin going down into the Dunlop hairpin.
I'm checking the times, and the biggest gap Trepanier has had was last round at Interlagos at about 11.7 seconds. This is going to smash that in a big way. This battle, though, is a decent one here between our rivals for P2. Belval hailing from Club Canada, and Breton likewise. Also should point out that Breton starting from 9th on the grid, up 6 currently to 3rd, and it looks like Belval's going to come in.
All right, Trepanier also coming in front as well. So very clearly there, Breton able to save a little bit more on that right foot. Seeing who else is going to decide to come in. Looks like Villegas is going to stay out for the moment.
So with Belval pitting, remember Vieira wasn't too far behind him still. So let's see if Rafael can try to catch up in the stops as we watch Villegas continue on here. Excuse me, Breton continue on here. So where is Belval? Belval's just coming out now. Vieira coming across him. And actually, Rafael is going to get him. Belval falls behind the 51.
Well, all right, some pit stop drama starting to play out here a little bit, with Vieira able to get that position above. Belval now has 9 minutes and 50 seconds to try to close that back in. And will we see one of the other drivers that they were duking it out with? Maybe they'll get in the middle of this scrap.
Remember, this should effectively put Rafael into second place. So that was a great bit of strategy from the 51 machine. We're still waiting on Breton, Villegas, Tavitas, Sepulveda, Miller, and Espina to pit in. Trepanier, naturally our highest bidder, having come in from the lead with a monster gap to everybody.
Yeah, and he did cycle back into 3rd, but as we said with Villegas and Breton, that's going to go right well quickly. Focusing back on Malbron here, trying to get some moves on Paul Espina, getting very, very feisty. Espina has not pitted, Malbron has.
And crossing the track. So this is, and he doesn't necessarily know on whether or not Malbron is pitted. As far as he knows, this is for position, even though they're off sequence. So down through the Schumacher S's, causing some frustration. Espina giving us his multi-camera view on board, braking deep and nearly making contact with the 20.
Nearly making contact. That was very, very close to not actually being a problem. As I'm seeing here that we have Breton, Villegas, Tavitas, and Sepulveda all coming out of the pits in front.
Yep, so that hands the lead back to the 87 now. And finally getting off the back of Espina, Malbron is going to have some clear air. There goes Paul into pit lane, and nightmare is over for the 187. He's through.
All right, so focusing in here, Tavitas looks like he has lost out big time. He came back out behind Jean-Claude Langlois. Ooh, not looking good there. As yeah, we see here Espina coming on into pit lane.
And just hits his marker. Looks at that. Perfect. Down to the lollipop man. Gonna take his service. Espina gonna fall well down the order. And yeah, I think he's gonna come out what looks to be about 21st or 22nd. Getting on the throttle and turning off his pit limiter, and away he goes. So, what has this done now that the pit stops are finished? Well, Trepanier is a full 20 seconds ahead of Vieira. It is still Breton who is challenging Rafael Vieira, with Belval not too far behind. In fact, much quicker. Breton off of the Schumacher S is able to challenge and down into Michelin. Just isn't quite able to make it.
No, he's not, and I've got to say that may not have been the brightest move there from Breton, as that has really allowed for Belval to close back in behind. Look at how close he is.
6 minutes left now for our drivers, and it is a battle for P2 between 3 cars here in the final stages. They've gapped Viegas behind them by about 5 seconds. It's all down to them. Once again, we're seeing a wide entry with the door open, and that biting Vieira. This time, though, he gets knocked back forward. Oh, but he's going to turn Breton around, and he gets hit through. And Belval sneaks through once again.
Oh, I think the stewards are going to have a pretty dim view of that move there as they came out of Coca-Cola. Oh, you hate to see that, Joe.
It's the second time. You'd think he'd know to try and come down a little bit earlier when a car is so close. And really turns him around. Unfortunately, the hit from behind is what sent him into the wall, and I think both of those drivers are done.
Yeah, both of them have taken to the pits here, it looks like. We watch one more time. They come apart. That looks a little deliberate from my perspective, Joe.
Yeah, I never like to make calls like that, just because that is a very insidious thing to imply. So whatever happens, it did not wind up looking good, and I'm sure it'll at least cause a look from the marshals here. Meanwhile, Philippe Magnon, who is sitting in 7th, is about 9 tenths behind Swindels, who himself is 9 tenths behind Tabatas. And that battle that we used to have for 2nd now becomes a battle for P4 amongst these cars. Multiple positions gained by each of these drivers.
Yeah, everybody really taking some advantage of others' misfortunes out here and doing a good job to move themselves on forward through the queue. So massive, massive kudos to all of these drivers.
Hopping on board with Sepulveda now, just inside the top 10. Mighty tight amongst these 3. That's Rines in front of him. Melbron at the front of the train. This is a great run from Vicente. Does he show his nose? No, he does not.
Yeah, not going to show his nose in there quite yet. Let's see if anybody can get a good run here coming out of Coca-Cola, though. We've seen some, let's say, some interesting actions coming through that corner. Maybe a little bit of a good run there for the 111 of Rines. They make their way onto the main straight.
Great run from Christopher. And a big defense from Melbron. Down into the Haug hook, covering him off. He's a little more shallow, but a bump from behind. Christopher cannot find an opening, and that allows Sepulveda to once again get close to him and also give a little hello to the 111 car. He defends down to the second part of the Mercedes arena. That slows him up. Melbron starts to scamper away a bit.
Yeah, Melbron able to get away a little bit, but that battle between Sepulveda and Rines definitely looking like it has some ability here to explode in the closing stages. Sepulveda doing a good job of just shadowing in the tire tracks there of the 111. Not the best run there out of the forward curve, but let's see if he can make it up for it going down into Dunlop.
I'm keeping an eye on this. Ooh, very deep into the corner. Gained a lot into there, but much closer down to the apex as well. And I'm keeping an eye on our leader, who's getting 2 to go now. So Trepanier has basically been in control. Hasn't led every lap since he did pit a little earlier than a couple cars up towards the front. But there's no bonus for most laps led in this series. It's all down to fastest lap in the race, and whether or not you get a bonus. And we got McLaughlin still out there, incredibly.
Yeah, Nick is out there, and remember, you've got to complete a number of laps to be able to score points here in the PRL, so I think that's probably what he is out there trying to do. He's currently trundling along right now in 22nd position.
Yeah, Trepanier going to be up next to lap him. We'll see if Nick lets him by and gives himself one last lap, or he wants to pride himself on completing every single one. Meanwhile, down the front stretch, there's we were on board briefly, I thought, with a battle there, but as we come to the Mercedes arena here, on board with Swindells, Tavitas in front of him, Langlois there in P4. That's Langlois in the blue and black BMW that you see, and the white Porsche belonging to Tavitas. And then the Ferrari there, the number 16 at the back of the three with the red, white, and black. That is Richard Swindells. They're going to get the white flag next time by. They have to get a lot closer than that if they want to make some overtakes here.
Yeah, it's a little bit what we saw from the last race, Joe. That as this race wore along, it got a little bit more difficult to overtake. Tires get a little bit more worn, and you don't nearly have as much grip. And despite some sunshine coming out here, track temperature is still only about 67 degrees, so not exactly perfect for getting that overtaking done.
Sepulveda getting mighty close. That's Melbron just in front of him. Jose was not afraid to attack, rather, I should say. It was Paul that we saw, Espina, making the defense before, and Melbron trying to get by. Now the roles are reversed, and Sepulveda instead is the attacker. Vicente is forcing him to have to defend to the inside, down into the chicane. He covers him off nicely, and there's no way Vicente can get through. Christopher Rines is liking this because he's able to gain quite a bit in that little exchange.
And that was a very wide entrance there for Vicente Sepulveda, but he's able to carry a lot more momentum on the outside of the Coca-Cola curve. And there you can see that is Melbron getting very, very nervous about it, but we've got to go back here to our leader, Vincent Trepanier.
Yeah, out of Dunlop, half a lap to go to make it 5 wins out of 6 rounds. It's up to 26 seconds now. Again, the previous record this season for him for biggest distance. Oh, and what's happening here? Oh my goodness! Holy cow! I thought we had seen the worst of the door banging, but that has just topped it.
Yeah, that was very, very rough there for these drivers, Joe. Sepulveda and Melbron having a big coming together.
Yeah, and that started with a little tap there into the Mercedes arena. And again, it looked like unfortunately, tempers were getting a little too hot at the end of it. Meanwhile, Vincent Trepanier in the 87 is going to take the win here in Germany, making it his 5th of the season.
The dominance for the Canadian just continues on here. We jump back, though, for the battle for P5. This is Ethan Tavitas seeing if he can close in on Jean-Claude Langlois.
Yeah, coming down to it here at the end. And he's just a little bit too far back, I think. Belval, by the way, will take second. Villegas is coming around for a third. And Langlois from 15th on the grid to 4th is matched by Tavitas, 16th to 5th.
Yeah, it's a very impressive run. This is Alexandre Breton here as he's trying to close in very quickly on the back of Lucio Vargas.
Taking a lot of curb there at the end, trying to get as much as he can out of this. It looks like he's having to serve a little bit of a penalty, taking too much of the curb. Now let's see if we can take a look at that incident with Melbron. Unfortunately, it sounds like a further incident happened, and once again, it doesn't look all that positive.
Yeah, necessarily doesn't. I believe that was Melbron and Sepulveda, the two that were involved in it. That was coming out of the Mercedes-Benz arena section when they came together here.
And unfortunately, that's the secondary impact there. So there's going to be some big discussions after this race, I fear, as it was at least a good day for the 87 of Trepigny, our winner, and that's going to take us to a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're going to give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much going to be a turnkey. So he's going to press start on his computer, and right after we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Welcome back to the Nürburgring. This round 6 for the PRL GT Am Series was drama-filled today. But for Vincent Trepigny, it was another cruise through the park to take a victory, his 5th of the season over Claude Belval. It was the biggest distance that Vincent has had at the finish line so far, 28 seconds. Jorge Ordonez Villegas was 3rd, up from 11th, and then even better than that, Jean-Claude Langlois finished P4 after starting 15th, matched by Ethan Tavitas, 16th to 5th. Richard Swindells finished P6 today, as Philippe Magnon finishes 7th, and it's Christopher Rines in P8, and Lucio Vargas 22nd to 9th. After that, it is Rob Campbell falling backwards and having to settle for P10.
Alexander Breton was running in the top 5, but had some late race incidents that pushed him back to 11th place, with Fabio Scardura behind him in 11th and David Morse in 13th. Bowie Stewin was 14th, with Paul Espina 15th and Michael Pavolano in 16th. 17th was Marc-Andre Desjardins. Chet Miller was 18th, and Nico Zanodakis was 19th, the last driver on the lead lap, with Jose Malbran 1 lap down.
Vicente Sepulveda, unfortunately, with a very late DNF. And then Nick McLaughlin, 22nd, 1 lap down, with a lot of problems early, and then just kind of took it home on a little bit of a cruise at the end there. He did indeed have 13 incidents, by the way, for those curious. Devin Horvath was 23rd, and Burmeister 24th. From there on down, it was DNFs. And I believe we're going to hopefully get to talk to some of our front-running finishers here today. But man, we speculated after what we saw on Monday, DJ, that it's going to be another race where it's difficult to pass. I didn't think that it would cause the tempers to boil over quite the way that it did.
You know, I didn't either, Joe, but sometimes that's just what happens when you get on a tight and narrow circuit like this where overtaking is difficult. You just kind of have to go for the gaps, whether they really are there or not. And you got to go for broke. And we saw a lot of drivers doing that, and that upsetting a lot of other drivers. So not exactly the look that you want to see, but still a cracker of a race in the moments where it was clean.
It's going to be such a contrast as well, this track, when we head off to the next one at Homestead, which is the Roval there. And we actually have covered the Roval a few times over the course of GSRC's history, but I don't think the A course that we're going to be doing, which includes none of the oval curves in it. So it'll be a tough one. It'll be flat, and it'll be a lot of hairpins. And wonder if it'll prove another one where it's hard to try and overtake, or if the slipstreams will help them. In the meantime, I believe we've got our second place finisher, Claude Belval, ready to talk to us. Claude, involved in some of the dramas out there today. Claude, we saw a lot of guys that seem to have had enough of things out there and do some less than stellar moves on the track. What's your take about what went down today at the Nürburgring?
Maybe some guys, first of all, hi guys, how are you? Maybe some guys was frustrating, maybe, I don't know. But there's some kind of move that was done, was kind of awkward. But at the end, finished second, I'm good with that. Was fun.
Yeah, I guess the end result is really what you're going for here. So that's
yeah.
And that second place is going to be quite helpful in the championship, since you came in 10th place here today. But when we head off to Homestead, that is a track that we see quite rarely here on the iRacing service. How familiar are you with that Roval?
2 laps.
So it sounds like you better get started as soon as we're done here today.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Well, I mean, good luck on that. But at least you've got momentum on your side. Does this sort of thing help you a lot when you get these good finishes? Do you head to the next round and you find yourself performing better?
Well, I just look. I'm an old guy. I'm going to turn 65 next Monday, so I just try to have fun, enjoy what I'm doing, and practice a lot. That's for sure. But I like doing this. I like racing with those guys. It's fun.
Well, we like seeing you out there racing. And again, congratulations. Anybody you want to thank for today's podium?
I have no sponsors, but thanks to you guys, first of all. And thanks for the league. And yeah, that's about it.
That was second place finisher Claude Belval, who went up from 6th on the grid to take a podium today out there at the Nurburgring. And unfortunately, I guess everybody is just trying to step aside instead of talking to us and maybe gather themselves, because we have no other interviews here. For that, we are going to, of course, thank our sponsors for this series, which includes ASR. They designed and built the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. And RaceLab. It helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. And ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. As well as SimMSA. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SimMSA.net. And finally, NinjaTrader. Visit ninjatrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out our Bandcamp for more awesome work. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Ryan, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. And also check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. There's a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. As we mentioned, the next race will be, first of all, Road Atlanta for the Ferrari Challenge, and then Homestead for the GT3 AMs. That'll be November 2nd at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.